the infamous and the condemned. Stories of Notorious Figures explores history's most noteworthy figures' dark and complicated lives. Each episode uses dramatic reenactments, expert interviews, and historical knowledge to show how these amazing people changed society and history. 1. Gary Gilmore. Gary Gilmore became famous for his crimes and his insistence on his own execution, a touching twist of fate. His dark tale takes place in the mid-1970s, when America debated capital punishment. Gilmore, convicted of 2 cold-blooded murders, denied leniency and demanded execution. This historic stand triggered a national debate on the death sentence. After a decade, Gilmore's 1977 firing squad execution was a turning point. This legal and cultural precedent reignited debates about justice, revenge, and the state's role in the death penalty. He haunts us with his tale of American justice's contradictions. 2. Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy, a notorious serial killer, was charming, yet a brutal killer. His 1970s murder spree, which killed many young women, shook the nation. Bundy's charisma and brilliance allowed him to blend into society and ensnare his victims, defying serial killer stereotypes. His trials, full of dramatic revelations and media frenzy, fascinated and terrified the nation. Bundy manipulated his trials, often represented himself, gaining notoriety. After a terrible and terrifying journey, his 1989 electric chair execution was grim but necessary. Bundy is a haunting reminder of human nature's riddle and the power of evil hidden in ordinary. 3. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy's life is a haunting tale of an apparently normal man hiding a horrific reality. As the killer clown, Gacy's public character as a cheery party clown and community figure contrasted with his private existence as a horrific serial killer. The horrific finding of almost 30 young men and boys' bodies stashed beneath his house culminated this frightening dualism. Gacy's tactics of enticing, abusing, and heartlessly disposing of his victims in his suburban house shocked the nation. In the late 1970s, his atrocities revealed a monster living among the unwary, threatening society's confidence and normalcy. Gacy's 1994 death ended a macabre tale of human depravity. 4. Timothy McVeigh. The 1995 Oklahoma City explosion by Timothy McVeigh devastated America. This devastating domestic terrorism act, which killed 168 and shattered many, warned of extremism. Former soldier McVeigh, an anti-government extremist, attacked in retaliation for federal law enforcement efforts in Waco and Ruby Ridge. The Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building bombing signified hatred and extremist ideology and shaped American culture. McVeigh was killed by lethal injection in 2001, closing a national drama and reminding us of the fight against domestic terrorism and the necessity for unity in such unimaginable suffering. 5. Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein, Iraq's unchallenged tyrant, unleashed terror that shaped contemporary history. He brutally suppressed his people and violated their human rights, including using chemical weapons. Iraq suffered decades of hardship and war under Hussein's violent crackdowns on dissidents and persistent pursuit of power. His brutality, especially during the Anfal campaign against the Kurds, typified his regime. His regime fell and he was captured in 2003, a turning point. Many saw his 2006 execution as an essential step toward justice, despite its controversy. It ended a dictatorial era, giving a country long plagued by his oppression hope. 6. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos' life was rocky, leading to murder and infamy. One of few female serial killers, her story began with a difficult childhood of abuse and neglect, setting the stage for a turbulent existence. Wuornos' criminality led to the horrible murder of 7 individuals in Florida in a short time. Media coverage of her arrest and trial was both horrifying and fascinating. Her story was complicated by self-defense allegations against abuse. Wuornos' 2002 lethal injection ended her tragic and violent life, but her legacy continues to spark debate and reflection on gender, violence, and society failure. 7. Bruno Hauptmann. The crime of the century, the kidnapping and murder of the Lindbergh baby, and Bruno Hauptmann's story remain one of the most intriguing and controversial in criminal history. Hauptmann's arrest for this horrible act sparked 1930s media frenzy and popular outrage. His trial for abducting and killing Charles Lindbergh Jr., the young son of the famous aviator, was spectacular and based on questionable evidence, sparking international discussion. Many saw Hauptmann's conviction as a sign of a legal system affected by public sentiment and media pressure, based on circumstantial evidence, including ransom money. His 1936 electric chair execution did not end the case's disputes and discussion, making it a perennial topic of American justice. 8. Ronnie Lee Gardner. The 2010 execution of Ronnie Lee Gardner is a rare and terrible footnote in American death punishment. Gardner, convicted of murder, chose firing squad execution, a historical practice now rare. A return to a bygone period of justice, this choice ignited a complex discussion regarding death penalty tactics and ethics. Gardner was chosen because Utah was one of the few states that still allowed firing squads, symbolizing the complex and controversial nature of capital punishment in the U.S. His tragic execution generated imagery of primitive justice, raising questions about the evolution of criminal methods and the morality of state-sanctioned killing. 9. Louis XVI. Louis XVI's death was linked to the French monarchy's fall, a turning event in history. Louis XVI's mistakes and indecision sparked mutiny after he took the throne amid instability and financial hardship. Ineffective response to poor economic conditions and mounting demand for reform from an aroused people led to a massive political revolution. Bastille Storm and French Revolution ended absolute monarchy and ushered in revolution. Louis XV's execution in 1793 marked the end of the Ancien Régime and the start of a volatile era of liberty, equality, and fraternity in France. 10. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. The Rosenbergs' lives is mired in mystery and dispute, typifying Cold War paranoia and espionage. Their prosecution for passing atomic secrets to the USSR was reported globally. While Americans feared communism and nuclear war, the Rosenbergs' belief resonated. Their biased trial and questionable evidence deepened social conflicts over justice, loyalty, and the death sentence. The couple's 1953 execution, the first for espionage in peacetime America, was dismal and controversial. It remains contentious, reflecting the complexities and fears of global conflict and ideological disagreement. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows of history. We hope these stories have not only informed, but also provoked thought and discussion. Our exploration would not have been possible without the dedicated efforts of our production team and the invaluable contributions of historians and experts. For more fascinating stories, subscribe and hit the bell icon to never miss an episode from The Infamous and the Condemned.